Hello, my name is Paul Jones, author of Concerning a Nation and several videos on Bible prophecy. If you're familiar with my videos, then you're probably sick of seeing this timeline. It tells us a great deal about how we live today and gives us clues about what we can expect in the near future. But what does it tell us about our past? Over the last 140 years or so, since 1879, there's been a clearly discernible direction in human society, and that direction is downwards. Now, few people watching this would wish to live in the past times. The 19th century, let alone the 13th, was hardly a period of Arcadian perfection. It was a time of amputations without anaesthetic, cholera through bad drainage, mass poverty and dark satanic mills. But there was a growing belief that they were on the edge of a future that was promising and exciting. Scientifically, that may have been true, and yet there are things which have been lost along the way. In fact, nearly everything has been lost. Godless commentators have created a false narrative in which we are making progress upwards, an anabasis, as they say. The opposite is a catabasis, and from a moral point of view, we are taking part in such a precipitous decline, a downgoing which will lead to an appalling reckoning. The horrors of past days are rarely balanced with the horrors of today. Cloning, mass abortions, the ability of political and religious fanatics to slaughter the innocent with little cost. But if that were all, it would be a simple question of just balancing costs and benefits. But it isn't all. The late 19th century could in many ways be seen as the apogee of Western civilization. It was orderly and godly. People behaved properly and art was sophisticated instead of pretentious. People might not have been free to express themselves, but we've seen in the modern age what happens when they do. Fashions today are beyond belief. How shocked the world was when women showed their ankles in the early part of the 20th century. What shocks us now? Today's women dress like men during the day and prostitutes at night. In the world of art, the 20th century is held to represent an explosion of creativity. In reality, it was evidence of how we had started to run out of ideas. Paul Gauguin said that all art was either revolution or plagiarism. But in truth, the more artists pose as revolutionaries, the more they show how derivative and unimaginative they are. We are entering slowly and imperceptibly, decade by decade, into a state of barbarism. And this degeneration has coincided almost exactly with the beginning of the Aliyah of the Jews and the shift of God's focus from the Christian West to the Middle East, where all things began. But because this process is gradual, we cannot see what has happened to us. Last year's abomination is this year's cultural norm. Many who think of themselves as conservative Christians pose as opponents of this descent into chaos, but they are deluding themselves. They follow the procession of depravity 2 steps behind, courageously challenging today's enormities while accepting yesterday's as if they were Bible truths. It is now commonplace for evangelical preachers to be divorced, sometimes several times, and for hatless and rebellious women to preach and teach to men. But I don't wish to fall into the futile folly of micromanaging the myriad insanities of modern life. The point is rather that the process continues without any real obstruction. Occasional victories are won, but always, like the Defence of Marriage Act, they are followed by reversals. Nothing stops the journey towards oblivion. You must understand that this battle cannot be won. A Christian society is no longer an option. And to be frank, none of you want it anyway. The children of Israel fell into appalling depravity. False gods, astrology, cult prostitutes, both male and female, and so on. They always believed that no matter how they behaved, God would not abandon them. For centuries, the Lord tried to tell them that this was a false hope. It's a false hope now. Fake prophets abound and are believed even when their predictions fail completely. There will be no return to a Christian society, if it ever really existed, not in the near future, nor will you be saved just yet by the rapture. The end times are not here yet, and the rapture may not be the escape you think it is. What is to be done? My advice is to make sure that when death or Jesus come to get you, that you are no longer in the Laodicean church. Have a look at this quote. And finally, a word about President Biden. As you will know from my works, America has lost her license to defend Israel. Joe Biden, barely in control of his faculties, has alienated Israel, the Gulf states, China and Russia. He has tried to ingratiate himself with Iran and made matters worse. North Korea treats him with disdain. And to cap it all, he has pressured those Gulf states to refuse Netanyahu a peace dividend by distancing themselves from Israel until after the election at least. Why? Biden believes in the blasphemy of a two-state solution and he opposes West Bank annexation. He wants desperately to rejoin the JCPOA, which Netanyahu opposes. He wants Netanyahu to lose. We'll find out soon enough whether he has succeeded. President Biden has a lot of trouble coming his way, assuming he lasts that long. Thank you for watching and God bless you all. Please read my book Concerning a Nation, published by Lulu. Thank you again.